Do you know the feeling when you've just set yourself a completely new goal, something new to work on? It can be in the evening when you think, I don't want to do this anymore. It's kind of like an FTE that stands for fuck this event. I don't want to do this anymore. And then you decided now, tomorrow, I am going to change because there's not many hours left of the day, so I might as well just start tomorrow. Then the other day rolls around, and you slowly but surely wake yourself up and start to put in some action and work. But it feels like you're swimming upstreams and you don't know what to do. You feel lost. You feel like you're trudging, but you're not getting anywhere. Well, I was in your exact situation 1.5 years ago because I was clueless. I remember this one day when I was sitting in my mom's apartment and I was watching a YouTube video. I was thinking to myself that I wanted to go out and play football, but I just couldn't apply myself to do it. There was almost like this hidden thing that had caused that the inability for me to pursue the things that I actually wanted to do right there and then. And how can you actually turn these ideas and visions into consistency, into an adventure, into results? Well, I've actually done this pretty well, and I've actually turned these things into results. Another story that I want to tell was in November. I had just gotten back from an illness that lasted about a month, and I got back and I started doing bench press, and I load up 60 kilos on the bar. My personal best at that point was 72.5 kilos, and I can't get 60 kilos off the bar. Imagine how depressing that is when you have set yourself a goal to bench 80 kg by the end of the year, and now you're struggling with 60. Then on the second attempt, I make it. And 3 months later, we're here in March, and a few weeks ago, before I actually got ill again, I benched 87 kilos. And I don't really say this to brag or anything, but simply to put it into perspective, because here I was in September and August of 2023 when I felt lost, and then suddenly, all of a sudden, I actually applied myself to discipline. The first thing is to define your goal. You need to have a strategic goal of where you want to end up in life. Because if you don't have a strategic goal and a B point that you want to end up. So for example, you're on A right now and you want to get to B. Define where this is. It can be a specific number or tangible result, but set your goal specific so you know when you've achieved it or when you are making progress towards it. Because this will help you stay motivated. It will help you actually track your progress and get closer to it. So set a tangible goal right now, because if you don't do this, you won't know what you need to do in order for you to actually proceed. The second step on goal setting is to set input-based actions. So define your inputs. What are the things that you will input into this machine that is going to take you forward closer towards your goal? You can imagine your goal kind of like a journey, a destination that you want to get to. And the vehicle are your inputs. The things that you put into your vehicle will actually determine if you get there fast, if you get there slow, if you don't get there at all. So it's very important that you decide what inputs you're going to have to actually turn this vehicle and fuel it with the right energy. So what are some practical inputs that you can have today? Well, the first thing that I would do is to define my goal as I described earlier. So for example, if it is fitness, I want to become stronger. An input-based goal could be to actually go to the gym 3 times per week consistently, and then another layer on that input goal, which is a layer beneath, which can be to actually improve my discipline, because then I will actually be able to do that. You see where I'm getting at here? You need to first realize the goal, then you put it into even more tangible goals, and then you just break it down into SMART goals, and then you have inputs, habits that you can utilize to actually fuel this and have energy to actually pursue this destination. And the more you do this, the more you will train yourself to actually take action. Then you will need feedback. Some sort of feedback. Someone who's reviewing it. It can be yourself or someone else. If you need kind of like guidance with this and you don't really know how to put your feedback in place, I want to help you out. You can book a free call with a link in the description completely for free, and I will help you out with gaining feedback and gaining these inputs, gaining everything and the system that I'm going to touch on a little bit later. But you need to start with this and start clarifying your goal, and then what will happen is that you will start to gain experience in actually reviewing your own thing that you're doing. So if I was playing football, it can be reviewing my videotape of me actually playing. So okay, here I went to run this way, but I could have actually run further to the right to actually gain a more momentum towards my opponent. And you kind of like review and gain an eye of what you're doing currently. And with my YouTube channel, for example, I review every single video. And I try to always think of something that I can do to actually make myself more credible, more convincing, and more appealing. Even though the results might not come instantly, I know that results compound over a long enough time frame. So keep in mind that if you just apply yourself to this habit, which is feedback and reviewing your own craft, then you will get better and you will improve yourself, because with feedback you will gain kind of like this third person perspective of your own creative work, which is very, very powerful. Then when you've started to gain feedback, you've started to gain some momentum, you need a crystal clear system. You need a pinpointed system that you are going to utilize right now when you've started to gain some momentum. So when you've started to actually apply yourself to these things and actually implemented the goals and the strategies, then you will actually need to develop a system. So first of all, you start by taking action, you start by doing these things, and then you put out a system that will hold you accountable, that will make sure you take action. A fantastic way to set up a system is to have a daily schedule. So for example, the night before the next day, you sit down and you plan in your notes, what are the exact tasks that I will perform as soon as I wake up, if I am going to school, or when I'm getting home from school. So these are a few things that you need to set in perfect order before you go and execute, because it's very, very hard to make the harder decision when you are in the present moment and you don't really think for your future self, because you probably have this fatigue after school when you feel a little bit of brain fog or whatever. And that's the exact feeling that we want to be able to have, but still pursue the thing we think is necessary and that we've planned for ourselves. Because to be honest, when I don't do this, I'm not very disciplined, I'm not very hardworking, just because I need a crystal clear path of what I want to do. So I like to just keep a to-do list of what in order to do. So the first priority might be to do this habit, then I study, then I eat something, then I go and talk to my family, for example, I do the chores, whatever. You specifically put these things into order and you try to follow it to the best of your ability. And if you don't succeed, it's completely fine, just because if you get it like 70% right, 50% right, 80% right, you're still moving closer to your goal, because you've set yourself a system that will actually allow you to improve yourself, that is going to improve yourself. And if life gets in the way, that's completely fine sometimes, because we all have other stuff that needs to get done rather than our creative task or the thing that we want to pursue, like an adventure. Once you've started to sort yourself out with these systems and the goal setting aspect of the things, you need to obsess over your mindset. The mindset is probably the most important thing, because either your mindset will allow you to slingshot past your competition and become the most successful in your creative task, or it will let you down and hold you back and push you and push you and shove you until you give up. And you can choose this by adopting the right mindset. So what are a few key traits that you can utilize to gain a mindset just like this? The first one is courage. You need to be able to perform, even though you feel a little bit scared and you fear that other people might judge you, that someone else might not resonate with your message. You need to just persist and keep going. I am the perfect example of this. As a 15-year-old, when people watch my content, it happens like rather often, I would say like 30% of the time, I actually do get more of the hate comments. It's not very much hate comments because people don't write that mean things to me. They just say, I don't like high schoolers giving life advice or whatever, even though I'm not even in high school, but it doesn't really matter. When someone is putting a negative frame towards you and actually directing some negative energy, you can't help but feel a little bit less happy and confident. So this is how I've actually transformed myself to actually reprogram my mind. Courage isn't the skill of doing something without fear. It is fearing something and doing it anyway. So gain XP in this skill, and I will actually touch on XP and skill levels a little bit later on when we come to the action part of things, how to actually set yourself up with action. But we'll get to that in a moment. Then you will need suffering. You will need to adopt some suffering. I've actually made a video on this, something like along the lines of like you will want to suffer more after hearing my story, and you can look more into that. But you will have to suffer. Every single successful person has went through something called the lonely chapter. It's a chapter where you don't fit in with your own friends, but you feel like you aren't at the skill level yet as to fit into a new group of friends. So you're doing this thing and you're consuming free content online, or you're buying a course or whatever, and you're trying to improve yourself, but you haven't still accumulated the results yet to actually gain a new group of friends. But this is the power of it. You go through suffering for you to actually slingshot and make so much more progress, because success, progress, everything in life is not linear. It comes in a compounding movement, so you have to just keep going through this gray area where you're putting in the work but you're not seeing results. And every single person who is successful will speak about this, and you need to be able to keep going when things get hard and when you're pursuing something and when you don't get the result that you expected in the first place. So act with you have to want to suffer more and fall in love with the grind. And that's why it's important to ask yourself, why am I even doing this in the first place? And that's why you need your vision. Because if you ask yourself, why am I even doing this in the first place, and you're just saying, I want a status or I want money, it has to come from deep, from within. It has to be extremely strong. It has to be something that you would do for free for 10 years. Even though you might make money from it later, even though you might get results from it later, recognition, but it has to be something that is aligned to your values. It has to be something that you can actually take, and it feels like genuinely a part of you, something that someone has ripped out, and this is your ability to express your thoughts and what you're obsessing with every single day. So have that vision. Where do you want to end up in a month? Where do you want to end up in a year? Where do you want to end up in 10 years? And you keep yourself to these principles. And I promise you that your life will never ever be the same. And you will not struggle with taking action, because you've actually gained that crystal clear vision, and you have something bigger than you that when you're working. So when the days come, when the days roll around, when you feel sleep deprived, you can actually push through. Because today, I'm relying on about an hour less sleep than usual. But I still do this because this feels so fun. I cannot think of something else that would be more fun right now. And this has to come from within. And sometimes you will question it, but you have to act with discipline and grit. You have to see the outside distractions, but still just say, no, I am not going to put myself in the position where I let go of my creative task and not pursue this. So this is why I'm telling you to act even when you don't feel like it, because when you have a reason strong enough, the motivation might be gone just like that. But in a few moments, it will come back stronger than ever before, and you will be able to push like you've never done before. And then all of a sudden, you have enough momentum to push even harder. And this is how you actually set yourself up for success with a right mindset. Now for the last part. Ruthless action taking. I want to talk about an analogy here. It is the experience analogy, or XP, someone might call it. It is the analogy of a video game. If you imagine a video game and you've just bought a brand new video game and you start to level up, you start to go onto the video game, you watch through some tutorials, and you walk around the map and you see a few tasks that you need to perform, and you try to slay a level 100 dragon and you get completely demolished. But then you realize, I'm just at level 1. Why am I trying to slay a level 100 dragon when I'm just at the skill level of 1? So you go and you kill some chickens, you kill 1,000 chickens, and then you gain enough XP to actually level up to the cows. Then you go from the cows, then you can actually play with other players to actually raid some bosses or whatever. And this is the analogy that you need to apply to real life. Understand and be a little bit humble with where you are currently. Say to yourself, I am not where I want to be right now, but that's completely fine as long as I'm at least acknowledging that and I have a point B as we've discussed earlier. So understand this experience, and for every single time that you do something, it adds on the XP bar. But every single time that you slack, that you procrastinate, that you waste time, it detracts, it subtracts XP. So it's important that at least you need to be pushing more than you did before, and when you've gotten to the level where you're more than 50% productive, then you've just gotta stay over 50% to get some type of result. This is not scientific, but this is just an analogy for you to think of, for you to actually be able to make even more progress along the line. And understand that if you just obsess over the fundamentals, for example, making your bed, I don't think I've missed a single day since like August or September of 2023 of making my bed. That is actually pretty crazy. I meditated 220 days in a row, then I lost it all, and now I'm on my way up again, but I don't want to say too much if I actually slack. But to understand where you are currently and then start making progress towards it again. Because then, once you've mastered a fundamental, for example, making your bed or something, then you will be able to actually put that into a business, to put it into that schoolwork, to put it into the gym, just because you have mastered taking action on the fundamentals. So now you've unlocked enough skill levels to actually gain enough experience to actually put it in to something new, for example the gym, a business, because you've now unlocked a new baseline where you can now start working hard. So start by obsessing with the fundamentals, set yourself out a few goals, and then keep yourself accountable by having like a habit tracker on your wall or in your phone or whatever. So do that to actually gain XP in your taking action skill. The last two things I want to cover is you have to leverage time and also do something called progressive overload. We will first talk about progressive overload because it has some things to do with XP. So progressive overload is a gym analogy. It simply means that the more you go to the gym, every single week you put in a little bit more, just a tiniest bit of more weight onto your, for example, bench press, and you're doing that every single week to get progressively stronger so that you can max out your bench press in a few months' time, for example, or in a few weeks. And once you do this, you will gain more muscle, you will gain more strength and everything, just because you're constantly challenging yourself. And how can you apply this to something like a creative task? You need to live on the edge of your comfort zone or outside of your comfort zone, because if you don't do this, you won't really make as much progress. You can still make progress with not overloading, but it's going to take infinitely more amount of time. Because if you just for example, if you bench 40 kg the first time you're in the gym, And then the second time, you feel a lot stronger and you think, I can actually do the same amount of repetitions on 45 kg and be the same like fatigued and everything. But no, I'm just going to keep myself to 40 just because I don't really have a great argument for it and I just want to slack. And then you do it. But you won't make that much progress if you don't continuously try to improve. So what I'm saying here, if, for example, if you're meditating 5 minutes a day, then you improve it by 2 minutes every like 2 weeks or something, and then you improve yourself that one day you will be on 20 to 30 minutes every single day. But first of all, start by obsessing with taking action. A small action, just 1 or 2 minutes, it's going to be extremely funny because you're doing so low volume, but this is how you actually build consistency in something, by actually obsessing with the small stuff. And last but not least, you need to leverage time. And what do I mean by leveraging time? Well, the concept is actually pretty simple. You need to do stuff right now that will multiply the results that you get from your time in the future. So to put it into perspective, for example, if you go and read a book right now for 10 minutes and you gain an insight, you can actually gain so much knowledge that that knowledge is worth more than the time you spent doing it. But if you spend 5 minutes on TikTok, that's 5 minutes that you've actually ruined your attention span a little bit, and you've also wasted some time, which is actually very negative. So understand this concept to leverage time positively into putting positive action. This will actually help you by taking like time, which is a scarce resource, and turn it into something beautiful, because you have this creative thing that you're putting in the work. I've been recording for almost half an hour now, and I'm leveraging my time towards becoming a better speaker, which in the end will pay off, for example. I'm not sure it will, but if it does, I've at least became a better speaker along the way, and I've gotten so many experiences, because this will just keep snowballing if you just start putting in the work today. So start leveraging time. And the last thing I just want to say is, if you're somebody who feels a little bit lost with this action plan, you can book a free call with a link in the description, and I will help you out with everything that you can do. Everything. The pains that you're feeling currently. Somebody will stay in the shower and actually have some shower thoughts, you know, the deep thoughts you have in the shower, and think to themselves, how can I help this person's problems? I will help you if you just do that. But other than that, I don't have anything more to say. I really do hope that you get some value out of this video, and I'll see you in the next one.